Hello, my dear students. Welcome you all to Sri Jayendra Rank Zone classes. I am your mentor and your friend for the subject biology, and I will be taking the zoology part, that is the animal science. So, my dear students, in the previous lecture, we have discussed about different types of barrier methods, birth control methods, and we were on to different types of sexually transmitted diseases. Before that, we have completed human reproduction. So now we are going to start with a brain booster, that is our NEET time, and as my dear students, you know, it is not tea time. So shall we start with NEET time? Okay. So the very first question, see what that question is saying, that how many cleavages are required for the formation of 16 blastomeres. Okay, you have to make 16 blastomeres, means a zygote, it needs to be converted into 16 blastomeres. Okay, so when the first cleavage happens, okay, when the first cleavage happens, so the zygote will be divided into two parts. Suppose the first cleavage happens like this. So it will divide into two parts, part A and part B. The second cleavage like this. Okay. So now we are having four parts. Okay. So this is the first cleavage. This is the second cleavage. Now the third cleavage. Third cleavage is difficult to show you on this two-dimensional view. Okay. But it will make 8 blastomeres. Okay, and the fourth cleavage will make 16 blastomeres. The number of cleavage you can detect by a formula, n is equal to 16. 16 can be written as 2 to the power 4, so n is equal to 4, right? So it needs 4 cleavages for the formation of 16 blastomeres, right? Second question, the blastomeres in the blastocyst are arranged into an outer layer called A and an inner layer called B. The outer layer A is trophoblast layer and inner layer B is inner cell mass. So option A, outer layer A is a trophoblast layer which further converts into cytotrophoblast and syncytotrophoblast, okay, and the B, inner cell mass, which further converts into epiblast and hypoblast. Okay, so the inner part is the inner cell mass, the inner layer, and the outer layer is trophoblast. Okay, option B is wrong, option C is wrong, option D is wrong. Cleavage in human is, in human the type of cleavage is complete, okay, or holoblastic cleavage, which is further divided into equal holoblastic and unequal holoblastic. This equal holoblastic and unequal holoblastic is basically based on the distribution of yolk. So in case of humans, we have unequal holoblastic cleavage or unequal complete cleavage. Okay, so answer is unequal. Superficial cleavage is seen in case of centrolecithal eggs. Okay. Fourth question, types of cleavage in centrolecithal eggs. So that is the question. Okay, it is superficial cleavage. Okay, so superficial cleavage, it is found in centrolecithal eggs, in which the yolk is present at the center, especially found in amphibians, reptiles. 3 germ layers which are found or which are formed during which stage of embryonic development? So the germ layers ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, they are actually the part of gastrulation, means the formation of gastrula. Okay, so the germ layers ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm, they basically arises in the gastrula, okay, or during the process of gastrulation. Lutein cells, they are found in the mature follicle or the Graafian follicle cells. In Graafian follicle, the follicular cells, they form small lutein cells, and the granulosa cells, they form large lutein cells, and both of these cells combine to form lutein cells, okay. So that is present in corpus luteum. So answer will be corpus luteum. So corpus luteum is the body which is having lutein cells, okay. So these are the questions, okay. Now moving to the next part, that is, yeah, we were going to start with the viral diseases, especially the STDs, okay. So the sexually transmitted diseases which are caused by viruses, first is AIDS, that is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, okay. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which is caused by a group of virus known as human T lymphocyte virus, and that human T lymphocyte virus is having many strains, and that is why that human T lymphocyte virus after many years been revised to be known as human immunodeficiency virus, okay. So AIDS, which is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, it is syndrome, not symptoms. Syndrome simply means it is a collection of symptoms. So in case of acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, a person suffers from collection of symptoms, and those collection of symptoms basically are manifested by occurrence of several opportunistic infections. Opportunistic infections means normally the infections which doesn't get an opportunity to infect you because of your strong immune system, but because of degraded immune system, because of failure of your T lymphocytes, these opportunistic infections, they are waiting for this moment only and they infect the person, okay. So these opportunistic infections, it includes chronic diarrhea, fever, okay, the skin diseases, and many more. So acquired immunodeficiency syndrome is basically caused by AIDS, which is HIV, which is human immunodeficiency virus, and the human immunodeficiency virus, it belongs to which group of virus? Human T lymphocyte virus, right? Now syndrome means collection of symptoms, means it is having collection of symptoms, okay, which basically designates the different types of infections at a particular time, means the opportunistic infections, okay. Now coming to next, symptoms. What are the symptoms if a person is suffering from AIDS? Now there are two things you should remember, that AIDS and HIV, they both are different, okay. Like for example, if a person is suffering from AIDS, so he will definitely develop symptoms either in the form of AIDS related complex ARC, okay. If a person is suffering from AIDS, he or she will definitely come up with the symptoms like AIDS related complex ARCs just before the actual symptoms of AIDS emerge. But if a person suffering from HIV, it doesn't mean he or she will be symptomatic. Okay. So why I am saying so, that if a HIV virus is in the body, it doesn't mean that a person is symptomatic or he or she is suffering from the infection. If the virus is inside a body and the virus is detected by different diagnostic procedures, then the virus is said to be in the latent phase, because HIV especially, it is having a very large window period. Window period is a period during which the genome of viruses especially, they replicates, they make proteins to infect the host. Okay. So in case of HIV, the window period is large, so it will take time for the virus to basically make up the copies and to infect the person. Okay. So human immunodeficiency virus is a very deadly virus, which is the reason for the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. We are on to find the exact cure for this virus. We are using different types of antiviral drugs, but exactly sure drug we haven't developed yet. Okay. So what are the different symptoms if a person is suffering from HIV? Means AIDS, lethargy, means the person will suffer from severe weakness, he or she will not have a mood to work, fever, pharyngitis, inflammation of pharynx, frequent weight loss, nausea, okay, mean uneasiness or urge to vomit, and headache, rashes. All these are symptoms of early symptoms of AIDS infection. HIV basically attacks the T helper cells, and hence the person's immunity is unable to protect the body against any infection. T helper cells, basically the T cells of the body, means they basically helps to form to inform the killer cells to do their function. Okay. In human health and disease, I will be explaining in detail about this disease. Okay. So there are two types of T cells, the T helper cells and T killer cells. T helper cells, they actually help to recognize the killer cells, that this is a foreign body and this is your own cell. So don't destroy your own cell, you have to destroy the foreign body. So T helper cells, they basically help the killer cells to identify. So if T helper cells are they are infected or they are not working, so the person's immunity will be degraded very much and is unable to protect the body against any infections. The person comes to any disease or secondary infections, that is the opportunistic infections, which normally would not have proved so fatal. Okay. And death is not due to the AIDS. Okay. So the death or the reason of the death in case of HIV or the AIDS is because of multiple organ dysfunction. Okay. Many organs, they get dysfunction, they are not in a working state because of multiple infections at a time. Okay. That is why the person is said to be immunocompromised. Immunocompromised means the person is basically having some diseases in which the immune system is not working properly. Okay. That is why the person is known to be immunocompromised. Okay. Diagnosis: ELISA test, enzyme linked immunosorbent assay test, is done for screening, and Western blotting is done for confirmation. So ELISA test is done for the screening of AIDS and Western blotting is done for the confirmation. Western blotting is done for the confirmation. PCR, polymerase chain reaction. PCR, polymerase chain reaction. is also done for the diagnosis. So you have to just remember every fine detail of all these diagnostic procedures will be given to you in the chapter Human Health and Diseases. Okay. Now the treatment, although there is no known cure, okay, when we know that we don't have any exact cure for AIDS, there are certain drugs which can prolong the life often, okay, life of the infected person, means to increase the lifespan, okay, to increase the life expectancy or to increase the lifespan, or we can say to improve the prognosis of the disease, means spread of the disease. Okay, prognosis means if the person is getting towards, if the person is having something, what could I say, if any person suffers from any disease, so there is a prognostic markers. Prognostic marker means that disease is basically characterized by, after giving drugs, so that disease is basically characterized by whether the person is susceptible to that drug is acting or not. So if the prognosis is good, it means the treatment is going fine. If the prognosis is not good, it means the treatment is not going fine. Okay. So this therapy is known as what? ART, antiretroviral therapy. Antiretroviral therapy. Okay. Like zidovudine, azithromycin is a drug of choice for the treatment of AIDS. Zidovudine and azithromycin. Diadenosine is another drug employed to treat acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So acquired immunodeficiency syndrome is basically a syndrome which is a collection of many diseases. It's come up with decrease in the cluster of differentiations, means the cells which actually help to improve the immunity, the T helper cells. It mainly infect T helper cells, and the moment T helper cells is infected, the B cells and the T killer cells will not be doing their work. Okay, that is why the person suffers from many infection and dies because of multiple organ dysfunction syndrome or failure. Diagnosis is done by ELISA, enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. It is for screening, means it is just to primarily confirm that the person is suffering from disease or not. Then Western blotting, on the second phase, it is confirmed by the process of Western blotting test. Okay, so whenever you've been asked that which is the screening test for AIDS, ELISA, which is the screening test for, which is the confirmation test for AIDS, then you will always answer the Western blotting. Okay, is that understood? Now, although there is no sure shot cure for AIDS, but we are on to different types of therapies. One among them is antiretroviral therapy. This antiretroviral therapy includes zidovudine, azidovudine, which is the drug of choice, and diadenosine. Okay, diadenosine, which is also given as a drug to treat AIDS. Okay. Now coming to next viral disease is hepatitis. Hepatitis is of 5 types: hepatitis A, B, C, D, and E. Okay. Hepatitis B, we are going to talk about hepatitis B. Hepatitis B is caused by hepatitis B virus or HBV virus. Okay, HBV. Okay, mean hepatitis B virus. What are the symptoms? Hepatitis is inflammation of liver cells. Inflammation or infection of hepatocytes. Hepatic cells means liver. Okay, it is caused by hepatitis B virus, HBV virus. Okay, symptoms, it mostly include fatigue, thak jana, mean a person complains that he is not able to work as before he was doing because there is lack of metabolic rate. So fatigueness comes due to decrease in metabolic rate. As there is an infection of liver, the bilirubin levels will increase. An increase or high levels of bilirubin levels causes jaundice, yellowing of skin and mucous membranes. Especially the tip of the nose, the part of the sclera. The person suffers from persistent low grade fever. Persistent low grade fever. Okay. Rashes on the body, abdominal pain. It can cause liver cirrhosis as a complication. Means the cells of the liver, they undergoes deposition of fatty substances, also known as fatty liver syndrome. Because the bile levels in blood are increased. Okay, the bile levels in blood are increased. If the bilirubin level in blood is increased, it means bilirubin is not doing its function. And the function of bile salts, is to emulsify the fat. So if the bile secretion is having large amount of bilirubin levels, biliverdin levels, okay, and the bile salts are not exactly doing their work, it means fat won't be digested, fat won't be metabolized, and that is why the large deposition of fat makes the cells, necrosed. It destroys the cells, and further it can lead to hepatocarcinoma, liver cancer. Okay, and further it will lead to hepatocarcinoma, that is liver cancer. Okay, so hepatitis B, it is basically related to the infection of hepatocytes, means hepatic cells. It is caused by hepatitis B virus. It is of 5 types: hepatitis A, B, C, D and E. Okay, symptoms mostly include fatigue, jaundice, means yellowing of skin and mucous membrane, persistent low grade fever, rashes on the body and abdominal pain. It can cause cirrhosis as a complication, means deposition of fatty substances in the liver cells, and liver cancer, means hepatocarcinoma in later stages. Diagnosis is done by Australian antigen test. Australian antigen test is a diagnostic method and is now called hepatitis B surface antigen test. Hepatitis B surface antigen test, HBsAg, most common antigen. Okay, so Australian antigen test, which is now called hepatitis B surface antigen test, it is used to diagnose the hepatitis. Then ELISA can also be used either for screening or for confirmation. Okay, so hepatitis B surface antigen test, it is done for screening, and for the confirmation we can do ELISA. Incubation period is 30 to 80 days. For this many days the virus can live in the body without causing any known symptom. Okay, understood? Now, hepatitis is a infection which basically affects many of the people at a time, but it never becomes so lethal that it can prove itself to be fatal. Okay, I mean, it cannot take life until and unless if it is going unnoticed or ignored. That is why the hepatitis, it is a infection which can be both acute and chronic. Like hepatitis B infection, it comes up with chronic history. Hepatitis A, C, they comes up with acute history. Okay, diagnosis, I already told you, it is done by hepatitis B surface antigen test. ELISA is used for confirmation. Incubation period is of 30 to 80 days. Now treatment, there is no cure. However, precaution or preventive vaccines are widely available. Okay, these preventive vaccines basically they help to eliminate the antigens from the body and make the body or make the lifespan prolonged. Hepatitis C is the secondary infection if the liver is already damaged by hepatitis B infection. Now hepatitis C, it comes as a hospital acquired infection. I'll tell you, just give me a minute. Thank you. So hepatitis C, it comes as a hospital acquired infection. In persons who are actually having hepatitis B infection or who are suffering from liver cirrhosis, and if they are hospitalized, so maybe because of poor sanitation techniques, or maybe because of some other person is having the same infection, they can basically grasp this infection, hepatitis C, okay, which occurs in hepatitis B patients and is also detected by ELISA. It is also detected by enzyme linked immunosorbent assay, okay. Understood? Enzyme linked Understood? Now coming to next, the hepatitis B is clear to everyone. Now it is actually genital herpes. It is also a very dangerous infection. Genital herpes, and it is a very painful infection too. The causative agent or the pathogen is herpes simplex virus, HSV. Herpes simplex virus. Symptoms: come up with many lesions, means lesions include open wounds. Commonly known as ulcers, right? The lesions which resemble either vesicles or pustules, okay. They can include pus filled outgrowths, or they can include vesicles, okay, which are later followed by clusters of painful erythematous ulcers, okay. Firstly it was like this, okay, then they will get burst, and after the bursting the pain will occur, which is unbearable, okay. So they are basically characterized by formation of pustules, pus filled overgrowths or vesicles, which later formed by clusters of painful, you can see in the picture, clusters of painful and erythematous ulcers over genitalia, especially the perianal regions, okay. Perianal regions means especially involving the external genitalia. Symptoms are more severe in females. Females, they actually have more serious symptoms, because in case of females, the discharge, especially the vaginal discharge, gives a high amount of moisture in which the virus can grow very much or very frequently, and that is why the females, they suffer from HSV more commonly in comparison to males. Infections of neonates means a lady is pregnant but she is about to give a delivery. You can see in the embryological life, neonate, okay, in the embryological life, okay. So infections of neonates can occur in case of infected females. If the female is infected and she is just about to cover her gestational period and about to deliver the baby, the neonates can also acquire this infection. Accompanied by this, there is fever, headache, pain, itching, vaginal and urethral discharge. These are some common symptoms, along with swelling of lymph nodes, okay. Lymph nodes, the swelling of lymph nodes is known as what? Lymphadenopathy, right? The swelling of lymph nodes is known as what? Lymphadenopathy, right? Now, next, infections of the urethra. Infection can also involve, the virus can also involve the urogenital tract, means the urethra, cervix can also be involved. If an infectious person goes for a sexual intercourse, then it can also involve the cervical regions of the females, right? Diagnosis is done by clinical symptoms and antigen detection okay. So antigen detection is basically done either through ELISA or different other methods, okay, means in which antigen antibody test is detected or done, right? Next is polymerase chain reaction is also done, and nucleic acid hybridization, okay. So you remember this, nucleic acid hybridization. So whenever the detection techniques are being asked, okay, you have to actually pinpoint, okay. So the detection is done by either clinical symptoms or antigen detection, okay, or PCR, or you can also write nucleic acid hybridization. Treatment, it is incurable. Once the virus enters in the body, it remains there forever. That is why I told you it is most dangerous, okay, very dangerous, right? Now coming to next, when we talk about the transmission of genital herpes, I already told you it is primarily transmitted sexually through genital secretions, but also in contact with an infected person or the genitalia of the infected person, okay. That is why it is always preferred and recommended to use safe sexual methods like wearing of condoms and using other barrier methods, okay. Now coming to next, genital warts. Genital warts, it is caused by human papilloma virus, HPV, okay, human papilloma virus. Symptoms, it is basically arise because of non-malignant, or we can say the benign hard outgrowths with rough surfaces. So basically it is a benign tumor as mentioned here, benign tumor with hard outgrowth and horny surface. Horny surface means because of keratinization, large amount of production of keratinization. It becomes horny, develop all over the skin and the mucosal surface of the external genitalia, means the glans penis, okay, and the perianal area, right? In women, the infection may enter vagina, cervix, labia minora, okay, may result in cervical and vaginal cancers if left untreated. The human papilloma virus, it basically helps to produce benign tumors, whether it is present in any of the site. So if it is present in the genital area, then it will lead to genital warts, okay. Papilloma virus, simply the word papilloma is basically given because of the outgrowth which is seen is like cauliflower, like this, having rough surface, cauliflower, like this, okay. That is why it is given the name papilloma, right? It is a benign tumor, but if left untreated, it may be converted into malignancy and may cause cervical and vaginal cancers, right? Now the diagnosis. How will you diagnose it? Clinical symptoms, okay. Antibody detection technique is already here and as well as in the previous part, okay. Antibody detection, culturing and DNA hybridization. Culturing and DNA hybridization. So genital warts, it is basically diagnosed by many of the clinical symptoms, mostly by the clinical symptoms, antibody detection technique and culturing and DNA hybridization. Understood? Treatment, Removal of warts requires special surgical skills. The warts, when they are about to remove, they require special surgical skills, especially for removal of internal warts. Okay, internal warts which are deeply embedded inside the skin, deeply embedded inside the skin. Cryosurgery is used to remove the warts. Okay, cryo means very low temperature, surgery means surgical excision. So cryosurgery is basically the temperature is low down to very levels, especially very low, which will lead to disruption in the blood supply, okay, and lead to clotting of the blood, which will lead to, if the papilloma means the outgrowth is not having that amount of blood supply, it will become, okay, dead, okay. And that is why cryosurgery is used nowadays very frequently, especially to remove these warts, okay. In layman terminology, these warts on the face, because of HPV, human papilloma virus, they are known as what? Mole, okay, or musce, okay. So cryosurgery is used to remove these warts. Podophyllum preparations are used for removal of warts. Podophyllum preparations are used for the removal of warts. The preparation is made by dried rhizome and roots of Podophyllum palatum. Okay, so roots of Podophyllum palatum and dried rhizome is used. Okay, understood? So what is genital warts? Genital warts are caused by human papilloma virus, and they basically cause a benign outgrowth which is hard and having horny surface. This horny surface is because of keratinization, and this keratinization lead to hardening of hardening of that skin area. Okay, it mainly affects the external genitalia and the perianal area, and that is why it is considered to be a STD. Humans, they may suffer from vaginal or cervical cancers if it is left untreated. Okay, is that understood? Diagnosis is done by clinical symptoms or by antibody detection. Culturing and DNA hybridization is also a method for the detection of this virus. Treatment is done by the removal of warts, which requires special surgical skills. Podophyllum and cryosurgery. Preparation of podophyllum is used by the preparation of dried rhizome and roots of Podophyllum palatum, okay, which are used for the excision. Okay, excision means the removal. Or the cryosurgery is also used for the same, genital herpes. Okay, understood? Now coming to next, chlamydia. Now the STDs caused by chlamydia, they are not viruses. Okay, so they are a separate group of infection causing agents, STDs. Okay, so chlamydia, they also cause sexual transmitted diseases, especially chlamydia trachomatis. Chlamydia trachomatis. Okay, so chlamydia trachomatis symptoms. The causative agent is chlamydia trachomatis. Okay, the symptoms are as follows. Chlamydia trachomatis is a human pathogen. It is a human pathogen that causes trachoma. Chlamydia trachomatis is a human pathogen which causes trachoma. Sexually transmitted, it is a sexually transmitted and perinatal infection. It is a sexually transmitted and perinatal infection. it is an obligate intracellular pathogen. It is a obligate means which will live only inside cell. Okay, it is a obligate intracellular pathogen. So Chlamydia trachomatis is a human pathogen which is a obligate intracellular pathogen. The infection caused by this Chlamydia trachomatis basically involves the perinatal and the genital regions. It causes urethritis, inflammation of urethra, epididymitis, inflammation of epididyma or epididymis, with unilateral scrotal pain. One side of scrotum it pains. Okay, it become hard and tender and swelling, mucopurulent, with the discharge of either pus or mucus. Okay, it is mucopurulent with the discharge of pus or mucus with yellowish pus. Cervicitis is the inflammation of cervix, inflammation of fallopian tubes as well. Proctitis, which means rectal pain in the rectum with mucus and occasional bleeding. So these are different symptoms which can be seen in Chlamydia trachomatis infection, especially involving the genital and urogenital tract. Diagnosis, clinical symptoms, done by clinical symptoms, gram staining of discharge. Okay, when the discharge which is coming, it is sent to the lab for histopathological examination. Antigen detection method and nucleic acid hybridization. Okay, incubation period is about 1 week, and treatment by giving or administering antibiotics like tetracycline, erythromycin, rifampicin. Okay, tetracycline, erythromycin and rifampicin are effective, but penicillin is not much effective in treating chlamydiasis. Okay, so they may have resistance towards penicillin. Okay, so my dear students, I will be starting the protozoal infections in the next video. Till then, please go through my all videos. Take care, stay safe. Bye bye. Bye bye everyone.